Welcome back everybody to Rasputin Gaming Presents. Today I'm bringing you another review of a game after Platinum. So today I'm bringing you a review of Greedfall. Greedfall is almost everything that I wanted out of an old school RPG. While it's still lacking a lot of polish, the exciting combat and excellent complex quest writing bring it very close to that winning formula of a mid-2000s BioWare game. Something the developer, Spiders, has previously aimed for but missed with its last couple of releases. Greedfall's sprawling adventure finally seems to have landed on the right foot, and it's worth the wait. Comparisons to the Witcher series and Dragon Age Origins are easy to make as you travel across the wild, semi-open environments for a long campaign. Spiders has always been great at world building, and the Age of Discovery inspired fantasy setting Greedfall throws you into doesn't disappoint in that regard. Starting out in the moody, muddy streets of the city of Serene that evokes Paris or London in the 1700s, you set sail for the mysterious volcanic island of Tir-Fradee. These places serve as the backdrop for a many-layered, morally complex tale about colonization, religion, politics, and worlds colliding that had me taking steel, gunpowder, and magic to all manner of foes, human and mythical, while uncovering a compelling mystery with plenty of surprises in store. For some reason, Spiders games resonate with me. I've enjoyed every one of their games I have played except for Technomancer. I've completed Mars, Warlogs, Bound by Flame, and Elix, having earned the Platinum Trophy for all. And I couldn't be more excited for Greedfall 2, A Dying World, which is a prequel to the original Greedfall. Gameplay. Backing all this up is a fun, flowing, challenging tactical combat system that I still haven't got enough of. Combat was by far the weakest pillar of Spider's past games, so this is a monumental improvement. I actually look forward to the battles instead of dreading them because they gave me the opportunity to dodge and roll around both human and monstrous opponents, firing away at them with my magical shadow bolts. The pacing of the fights is great, with animations that are eye-catching and show a lot of attention to detail. There's a good mix of enemies you can mow down to feel powerful and generally challenging bosses that will test your composure and reflexes. Magic adds a lot of utility to the mix, though it seems like it's a bit too easy to use, especially on the lower difficulties. Mana recharges during battles, while bullets are a finite resource and have to be bought between missions. Despite that, magic feels more powerful than gunplay, and that comes across a bit unbalanced. When playing on the hardest difficulty, magic seems to be the optimal way to get through the game, especially when backed up by a ranged weapon. You also don't have a lot of control over what your two AI party members do, so it's lacking a bit in the tactical element of a game like Dragon Age Origins. But what's here is so well done that I didn't feel that sting too often. Appropriate for an RPG of this style, there's a very in-depth gear system complete with simple but satisfying crafting elements to customize your swords, helmets, firearms, and other tools of the trade. Each gear slot has a few different options for upgrades, so you can, for instance, focus on dealing more armor damage and fewer hit points. The progression from starter rags to the best stuff feels meaningful and exciting. And best of all, Tir-Fradee strongly encourages exploration. By going well off the beaten track and using out-of-combat skills like climbing to reach some really out-of-the-way places, I was able to find loot well above my pay grade fairly early on in my adventure. Being rewarded for curiosity with something tangible like that is just so satisfying. And if you follow my video guides, you will find those as well, which will ease your playthrough. If one of Greedfall's systems deserves praise, it's the ability to approach most of its quests with a mixture of stealth, disguise, charisma, and force. You can choose to invest talent points in science and be able to bomb a hole in the basement of a warehouse to gain entry, or you can talk your way in with charisma, or you can stroll in unquestioned by wearing the armor of the faction whose space you are invading. Even if they're not difficult to decipher, your companions often eagerly give away the possible solutions to the situation. I did enjoy weighing the possible effects each choice might have on my relationships with my companions and with the factions. When it comes to blows, combat is divided into the standard strength, agility, and magic modes, while weapon choices are setting appropriate things like rapiers, maces, and rifles. I created a build focused on magic since I was running through the game twice. My usual two party members, Siora the native mage and Vasco the ship captain, supported me well with healing and ranged attacks. I had hoped to micromanage their skills a bit, which Greedfall weirdly does not allow for. My preferred style of play in RPG is almost always to level up a charisma stat or a stealth stat, and charm my way or sneak my way through the plot, and I wasn't going to change it up for Greedfall. As soon as I saw charisma on the skill tree, I leveled it up every single time I could. As a result, I saved a lot of money and avoided plenty of difficult combat. This isn't Deus Ex though, as there will be combat at times. But in general, many missions allow for players to talk their way through, sneak their way around, or grease the hand of important people. It felt nice knowing there were plenty of options, even if I picked the charisma option almost every time. Greedfall also displays the percentage chance of success for each persuasion dialogue, which is greatly appreciated. Despite it all, the game has a strange allure to it. I couldn't get enough of the world. It feels, well, colonial. Firearms are old school rifles, pistols, and blunderbusses. Sabers are heavily featured melee weapon. And despite the fictional setting, Greedfall is a period piece placed right in the middle of the 1700s. Outfits have coattails, and tons of characters wear tricorns unironically. Narrative. Every faction has a clear personality and set of objectives that affect how they relate to one another and to the natives. From the scientifically minded Bridge Alliance to the fanatical evangelizing Teleme, an intriguing, complex political web is woven that you're obliged to navigate in the course of your quest. It's even possible to reshape one of the main factions from the inside if you focus on non-combat skills, which I thought was going to be a major highlight of my playthrough. Disappointingly though, I didn't really see those changes reflected in the world. A lot of bigger choices felt glossed over. They were only mentioned in an epilogue briefly, which felt rushed and a bit deflating. The magic-wielding natives of Tier 4D are also presented with a lot of depth and nuance, as there are many tribes that don't share all the same customs or even agree on what should be done about the colonizers. It's very, very hard to divide this world into good guys and bad guys, and there's no morality system to do it for you. That ambiguity allowed me to make a lot of interesting decisions based on my own value judgments, and I love it when an RPG doesn't slap me on the wrist arbitrarily for acting on my own idea of justice. The quests are exceptionally well written pretty much across the board, and often made those interesting decisions I mentioned all the more difficult. They tactfully handle some very heavy themes that I haven't seen tackled in other story games, like the institutionalized abuse of soldiers in the military and forced re-education of natives. Tier 4D is rarely a cheerful place, and similar to The Witcher 3's continent, the best you can do sometimes is to try to find the least terrible outcome to a very dark situation. Even though it took me about 121 hours to earn my platinum the first time, and 46 hours the second time, I can say that nearly every errand Tier 4D had for me was worthwhile as either an intriguing scenario that asked for an interesting question, or a meaningful revelation about a character or the island, or sometimes both. Visuals. The island itself is beautiful, diverse, but a still grounded environment. Even though it looks lovely, the lighting is generally nice enough, but sometimes acts really weird when you move quickly between areas, making things distractingly too dark or too bright until I transition to another area. Also, the camera can be a bit unwieldy. Technical polish is not Greedfall's strong suit, although Spiders has come a very, very long way from Mars Warlogs and Bound by Flame. The characters also landed in a bit of a strange place, which is where the rough edges of Greedfall become most apparent. The facial animations have definitely gotten better since Spider's last game, Technomancer, but overall most conversations still lent a bit of an eerie, robotic feel thanks to the stilted way the pirates, colonial governors, and native warriors looked and moved. On the other hand, the outfits they wear are detailed and wonderfully evocative. There are a couple of other small things that took me out of the Fantasy 2, like the fact that the Continental buildings' interiors are all reused for all three of the colonial factions, which detracts from their ability to present a unique identity. Sound. The biggest exception to an otherwise strong voice work is the fictional accent created for the natives. Every time they speak, I can really tell it's artificial and it's used inconsistently from one character to another. The performances themselves aren't bad, but they're dragged down by this attempt to do something ambitious when just giving them a real world accent probably would have worked better in practice. At times, with certain NPCs, the dialogue becomes painful, although I was enjoying the conversation. I couldn't wait to fast forward to the end of the interaction. Despite this, the other sound effects, combat, and environment are well done. Lastly, the music helps carry the story forward and lends a subconscious appeal without being distracting. Replayability. Greedfall is ripe for replayability. There are a number of romance options, a number of different endings, a multitude of different ways to approach each quest, and a variety of combat styles to choose from. All of these options, from being a melee-based soldier or a gun-wielding combatant or a magic-using sorcerer, lends themselves to multiple playthroughs of the game. During each of these, you can experience different romance options, mostly which depend on whether you're male or female, which power the opportunity for different game runs. Lastly, there are a plethora of different endings to the game, most of which depend on which factions you sided with, which native leader you sided with, and whether you chose the quote-unquote good or the quote-unquote bad ending options. Of course, there are the different difficulty settings which can dramatically change how you play the game. There is a big difference between playing on the easiest setting and playing on nightmare difficulty. Fun. Unsurprisingly, I found this game to be quite fun. I loved the environment, I loved the factions and their differences, I loved the quests which seem to differ from your standard fetch quests or kill 10 rats quests. Despite running through all of the quests, I did not feel that I was running around back and forth without direction. You don't have to pre-plan your quest logs to keep them lined up. The game flows quite nicely. Additionally, the challenge in completing the game on nightmare difficulty added a new sense of challenge without making me feel like I needed to be a get good soldier of the Dark Souls variety. In the end, I played through the game 4 times, twice each on PS4 for a total of 121 hours, and twice on the PS5 for a total of 46 hours. Yes, I got a lot more efficient on my last 2 runs and enhanced my ability to earn the platinum trophies. But even though I spent nearly 170 hours in this game, I never once felt the tedious drag of repeatability. So now on to the ratings. For gameplay, I give Greedfall a 9. Amazing. To me, the gameplay, when you encompass all the different styles and the quests, really make this a very fun game to play. So a 9 there. The narrative, additionally, I thought was very well done. All the moral ambiguity, the different factions, the different styles of natives as well, really made this a robust narrative game. So I give that a 9. Graphics in this game, an 8. I thought they were great. Other than some facial tics and some invisible barriers that you come across in the game, the graphics were very good in this game. The audio, and have to give it a 6, unfortunately. The native languages, the accents on some of the native was just painful, and I have to say, it was just painful to listen to. And I had to fast forward through the conversations, especially considering how many times I played through the game. It's unfortunate, and it could have been done quite a bit better, but yeah, it deserves a 6. Just okay. For replayability, this game gets a 9. There is so much that lends itself to replaying this game, from your basic difficulty level changes, romance options, the different endings, different ways to treat each faction, the possibilities to approach each encounter, whether through disguise or stealth or charm or combat. There's so many different ways to experience this game. It's really well done. I thought the replayability is amazing. For fun in this game, I'm going to give it a 9. I wanted to give it a 10, but I just couldn't quite get myself there. I found this game obviously to be real fun. I put 170 hours into this game, played it just about every possible way you could, and earned the Platinum Trophy multiple times. And like I mentioned during the review portion, something about Spiders games usually hooks me pretty well. So overall, I give this game a 9. Amazing. It's for me, one of the best games I've ever played. I know some other reviewers struggled with this game and the stylings, and they're not a big fan of spiders, but I tried not to let that get in my way, and I found this game to be quite fun. I enjoyed the replayability of it. As I've mentioned numerous times, that's why I played through it 4 times actually. Quite a bit of fun. I do not think you can go wrong here. So now the category which separates me from everyone else, and that's the ability to platinum. And for this game, I give it a 6. Just okay. It is a difficult game to platinum. Difficulty can be a struggle. It basically requires you to play one style, which is the magic wielding style, and there's a couple of boss fights that can be quite challenging. In my video guides, I show you a way to cheese the hardest fight and really turn it into an easier combat encounter. But magic kind of levels the playing field. If you play as a melee character, your ability to platinum is going to be difficult. Additionally, it does require playing through the game 2 full times, once as male, once as female, so you can collect all the romance options. And there's a certain set of ways you got to play through to avoid having to play through a 3rd time for other things you miss. So if you're going for the platinum, make sure you check out my video guides on how to get through the game fairly quickly and where you can cheese the most difficult boss fights. With all that being said, thank you guys for following along. Appreciate you a bunch. Don't forget to friend and follow us on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the videos. It doesn't cost you a thing and it helps me out immensely. So for all you that keep subscribing, thank you very much. Much appreciated. For all people, subscribers and non-subscribers, please take care out there and be safe, and we will catch you next time.